Hi, welcome back to my channel. I felt like an updated makeup routine was long overdue. Every time I feel like I perfect a routine, I have to get on here and share it in depth. Keep on watching because I feel like this is the perfect makeup tutorial for anyone that wants to shift their routine. If you want to see how I achieved this makeup, then keep on watching. This is what you want to use for bulletproof brows. So I'm going to use it today. So the way I like to do my brows is I will brush up the brow hairs first. I don't trim my brow hairs because I have lost a lot of growth and volume throughout my adult years. I just leave them and then gel them to compensate for how thin they are. This has been my trusty brow product for, I'm gonna say 2 years now. I do use both sides every day, however, I obviously use this a little more and you only need the slightest bit of the powder. So I'm going in with the pomade side or the wax, number 2 medium. What I like to do is just start mainly on the upper and lower section. So the top half of my brow. This might not work for everyone. I feel like this brow routine is going to be more beneficial for people who have naturally thin brows or who have destroyed their brows and just want to get a nice natural full look. I feel like there are ways that make your brows look more artificial. However, this is how I get my brows looking natural. So focusing most of the application on the upper part of my brows. The reason I love the powder is because I can go in and add extra definition where my brows are not naturally growing. Kind of like that. As you can see, my skin is already glowy from me preparing my skin earlier this morning. For me, I will always, every time, no matter what look I'm doing, prioritize having a glowy, radiant, hydrated base over something more matte that might last longer. That is just the way I believe you are going to get the most flawless, amazing makeup. So I have been loving the Clarins Extra Firming Joie. This is the day moisturizer. So this is the one I put in the morning. I don't know if you can see it because of the light. And there is a nighttime one as well that I do apply before bed. This one is a little more water, I don't want to say water-based. I'm not actually sure if it is water-based, but it is definitely a lot more jelly and creamy. And then the nighttime one is a lot more rich and saturated. This is great to prep your makeup. I also feel like I haven't done a really good job informing and educating on skincare as much as I should be. I actually was saying to my husband this morning, being a beauty brand founder, it has definitely been a little harder making that shift between someone that has spent so many years just kind of using a product and then endorsing it. But now I'm learning all about ingredients and, you know, what goes into makeup, what should be included, what shouldn't. And I feel like I need to start informing a little better. I don't want to only be sharing with you what is pretty and what colors look nice. Starting with good skincare is always going to be the best foundation to protect your skin. This is the new foundation that I have been using. This is the Dior Forever Skin Perfect stick and the shade I use is 2.5N, which is neutral. Now, it is a little bit lighter than my complexion, and I know some people don't like the idea of going maybe slightly lighter rather than deeper. And I will always stand by adding the depth and color with contouring and bronzing and of course blush. My goal for a foundation is to use as little as possible but do as much for my makeup routine as I can. So I will always add the most foundation here on this lower section of the face. Cakey makeup only happens because there's too much makeup on the face. So I only want to really be putting the foundation in the areas where I know there's not going to be either bronzer or concealer. I will avoid this whole section because that is going to give my concealer, which is also the Dior Forever Skin, the perfect canvas to do what it needs to do because it is touching skin straight away. So it's not going to be going on top of a foundation and looking streaky. it is going to do what it wants to do, and it's going to do it as best as possible if it is going straight on skin. That should really be it for foundation, and you can always go in with a little bit more if you need to, and if you have any spots or, you know, marks or pigmentation, go in with more. So this is the Hourglass foundation brush. So I'm just going to go in and kind of lay the foundation, and it's going to give me a cleaner canvas to just go in and sculpt and do the fun part. What I love about this foundation is that when it sits on the skin throughout the day, it doesn't separate, it gets a really nice radiant glow. Some foundations can tend to get drier throughout the day and start to get a little more powdery, maybe because they have a little bit of like a self-setting element to it. However, I feel like this foundation after application just gets better and better throughout the day. And then I'm taking the Dior Forever Skin, and this is the shade 1.5 Neutral. I used to color correct, however, again, I just feel like if I can avoid that extra layer and look a little more softer throughout the day. So whatever leftover concealer I have after doing my under eye, I will apply on the lid. Looking at my base now, you saw a lot wasn't applied, and there is in no way any need to really have anything more. If I'm going to add more, the only thing I'm going to do is a little bit of the Hollywood Flawless Filter, because it adds a really nice radiant glow, and that is really it. For more definition and contouring, I love the Westman Atelier Truffle Contour Stick, which is this one right here. I'm pretty sure that is the medium shade. And then for a softer bronze, I love the Chanel Les Beiges, which is very glowy, and the Merit Clay Balm. So this is not as thick as the Westman Atelier. It's more balmy and a little more softer. In 2025, I don't want to hear anyone saying that contouring is overwhelming. It is so easy. Products have evolved and gotten a lot better. I started out contouring and kind of taught myself when I was a working makeup artist, mind you, when people were paying a lot of money for their makeup. We were using $2 concealers in the darkest possible shade, which were formulated to be thick and correcting, and we were using that to add a nice natural shadow. It made no sense at all. It really was insane. Contouring my nose is very simple. I like to go in where I have my bumps and humps. And this is honestly more precise than I even make time for on a regular day. I really just take it on. And I don't really even contour to like correct anymore. I feel like perfection is such an outdated thing to desire. If something is not perfect, it is fine. That's what makes us unique, and that's what makes us us. So don't ever feel like you have to perfect something on your face that isn't right. That's how I do the nose, and then you just want to add a very minimal amount to the areas you want to shadow, and then I love to do the lips. A contoured lip really just pulls everything together in my opinion. I haven't gotten lip fillers in so long. I do get Botox because I just like the look of, you know, a softer forehead and softer crow's feet. So yes, I get a little bit of Botox here and in the forehead. However, I actually haven't touched fillers in years. I actually do get quite a few comments saying I look so different to when I started out online or, you know, a few years ago. And one, I am obviously older, and then adding a little bit of the Chanel Les Beiges on top is what really always gives my skin that beautiful glow. Another thing I love to do so my nose doesn't have harsh lines is just dabbing on bronzer more all over. Today I'm going to go a more baby doll pinky blush because I feel like I have really shoved the peaches and the oranges and, you know, the more neutral shades kind of down your throat. So Bright and Blur was formulated to be a brightening powder. If I am going to be wearing my makeup all day and all night, I will mix it with a loose translucent powder, which is really going to set and get that longevity. And then I add bright and blur to, of course, brighten and counteract the darkness. But I really want to show you how to look as naturally flawless as possible today. And what I have been using is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Soft Light. It is very glowy, so you can definitely use this all over your face to kind of give a soft set. However, I really like to mix it with the Bright and Blur just to give a little glowier element. Bright and Blur is completely matte, so I like to mix them together just to give a little more of a glowy finish to it. This is the setting brush that I created to go with Bright and Blur. It is a tapered flame brush. It is super, super soft, and this is going to add the powder so seamlessly under the eyes. So I should show you what I'm doing. I'm mixing, where am I here? Mixing the two of them together, and the most important step for setting is going in with either your finger or your makeup brush and blending out any creases before you do this step. Very important. Okay, and then watch the brightening happen. Peau de Rose really does just brighten and just add a really unique finish to the under eyes. I'm so obsessed with this shade. I get asked and DM'd so often what my favorite shade is, and surely I have a favorite, but I'm being honest, it really depends on the makeup look, what I'm wearing, what blush I'm going to wear. There are so many factors that determine whether I'm going to pick Peau de Rose or Banana Creme. During testing and trials, the common rule I created was that if you are cool toned, you will use Peau de Rose, and if you are warm toned, you will use Banana Creme. The funny thing is that majority of customers are actually picking up both. That may just be because we run a promotion that if you purchase either both or one and the brush, you do receive our Faux Suede makeup bag free with your order. And then a little sweep over the lids just to avoid them looking extra shiny. I'm going to take a little bit of this bronzer and just dipping back into the pinks for today's makeup look. We do have quite a few shades of pink in the Velvet Blush wardrobe. These are the two most like dolly kind of pinks. Petal doesn't pick up that well on camera. Blossom really shines on camera because it is more deep and kind of violet-y. Petal isn't that photographic in this essence, but let me show you how good it looks on the face. Just like the under eye setting brush I just showed you, I created this so that you can apply your makeup super flawless, get the most pigment out of it. The shape of the brush compared to a lot of other blush brushes is actually super unique in a sense that it's not super dense and firm, that you feel like you're fighting the brush to apply your blush. It's not super flimsy where you're trying to apply it but the product just isn't making contact with the face. This is actually a super unique brush. Tools are often forgotten by makeup brands. Although the makeup I create is obviously super important to me, my tools are my pride and joy. I create my brushes so that they perform. They obviously serve the best, most beneficial purpose for your makeup. But my favorite thing, they are so aesthetic. Like, you can't tell me you haven't seen a prettier makeup brush. Anyway, I'm going in with Petal. You can see her a little bit better on the brush, but Petal goes on so pretty on the face and it just marries into your makeup. I don't know how to explain it, but it's soft, it's pretty. It really brightens the face. So if you want to look awake and just cute, Petal is really good. However, Petal is not suitable for every complexion. Back to what I was saying about the complexions, this will not suit every single complexion. So if you have a darker, deeper complexion and you want to achieve this look, Blossom will be your go-to. And maybe I'll just add a little bit just to show you. I'm only going in light-handed with Blossom. You can see why I went for Peau de Rose today, because this blush needed a pinkier under eye. For eyeshadow, I'm keeping it super simple and a little more cool tone today since this pinky blush is cool tone. Just going to take these two cooler toned shades and just add a really, let's get rid of the creases before we do that. Just a really soft wash of colour on the lid. You can do this with bronzer, you can do it with anything really. The great thing about makeup is we have gotten really resourceful. Like we are using lip liners to contour, we're using contour as lip liner, like everything has just shifted to be a lot more user-friendly. I feel like makeup is less about the rules and more about doing whatever you like and feel comfortable about, and I'm super here for it. I would never be a founder that bullies people into saying they aren't using my products right. When people are using my products differently and innovatively, I love it, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. So we have our eyeshadow. You can go ahead and do a smoky wing or a winged liner. Sometimes I like to tight line my upper waterline before applying mascara to give a little bit more definition to the eyes. However, I want to keep this as simple as possible because the approach is to look as effortlessly flawless as possible. I wish I knew the impact that a lash curler had earlier on before I spent all of these years wearing lashes. Why is a lash curler so important and such a staple in my makeup routine? A lash curler allows you to take what is already on your eye and you are curling it, and it is naturally just going to complement your natural shape of eye. These are your natural hairs. It is following your natural line that your eye goes in, and all you are doing is enhancing it, which is why this routine is all about natural enhancements. So I'm taking my lash curler. This is the Shiseido eyelash curler, truly the best lash curler on the market. And you want to get as close to your lash line as possible and pinch as much hairs as you can. So I start off really close to the root, which can be a little daunting for some, but start off as close as possible. Don't rush this step. The longer you take curling your lashes, the better they are going to look. And then we're going to slide it up and then hit the tips. Can you see that? Can you see how lifted they are? Milk Makeup Kush High Roll Mascara. And I have been loving just how glossy and separated my lashes look with this. They don't come out clumpy. I don't know. It just gives them a really nice like wet look. Like they don't look dry, they look wet. I don't know if that makes any sense. You know how some mascaras just look really dry? I don't know, I really like this. So you want to do this right when you've curled them because you are going to hold that curl as much as possible if you do it straight after. Okay. You can of course elaborate on what you're doing. You could go in and add a smoky wing, which is usually my go-to for a night out. If I was going to do this makeup for a night out, the only thing I would really change in the whole routine is going in with the black and brown and doing a smoky wing. Another thing that I have found for me, there really isn't much of a need for bottom lash mascara, and this isn't for everyone, but I have found in photographs when I have bottom mascara on, I look really dragged down and droopy and unnatural. So again, this is me saying that this makeup routine isn't for everyone or every occasion or every makeup look, but these are just the little things that I have found in my own routine, why I'm feeling more confident and why I'm feeling, I guess, naturally prettier with my makeup is because I'm eliminating these steps that are just so unnecessary and not needed. But some certain eye shapes or, features need it to lift and enhance, but some don't. So this is just my opinion. Although I'm loving the matte look, I feel like I'm going to get in trouble from my little community. We kind of have had a viral blush shade. So since launch, we have had one shade which has been used by makeup artists, by beauty content creators. It has been purchased a significant number more than every other blush shade. It is that blush shade that once you use it, you realize how unique and amazing it is. I have so many incredibly talented makeup artist friends that use this on their brides and clients, and I can't even begin to tell you the feeling that when I see a wedding photo from a photographer or something online, I just look at it and immediately know, before even seeing which artist it was, that they are wearing this blush. I see pictures on my feed and then realize one of my makeup artist friends have used this blush on them, and it's just, it is the most insane feeling, and this is why I do this. Every time this blush gets mentioned, people go crazy for it, and it is blushing. What I find the most crazy is that we're in a generation of makeup where highlighters are kind of phased out. However, hybrid blush highlighters, I guess, are the moment, and this has been so popular. So what blushing is a hybrid between a blush and a highlighter. So it's essentially just a really pigmented highlighter, which I intended to layer on top of blushes. So I'm going to add a little bit on top today. And that is why the shade is truly so popular, and I feel like it does really go nicely on top of the shades that we applied because they just really complement each other. It has been quoted as Victoria's Secret in a blush, and I really feel like that's the essence it gives. It is amazing, isn't it? The funny thing is that the reason I introduced a glow addition to my blushes is because this is the shade Amber Glow, which is like an orangey, peachy, goldy shift. This was the glow blush I used and sampled for so long. And I remember creating my blushes thinking, okay, we've created these amazing matte pink shades. We need a really nice shimmery, glowy pink to, you know, complement the matte ones. So that is how the glow blushes came to life, and how blushing has become a little bit of a viral sensation online. You have been warned. This lip liner is beautiful. It goes on like a dream. However, it lasts a total of 2 seconds. But I still wear it. This is the Merit lip liner in Bespoke. These are just so pretty. They wind up, they're super creamy. It's almost like a pinpoint lipstick. It's that creamy. So I'm going to show you how I line my lips with this. And it's really just going to complement what we've already shaded with the contour. And with this product, I don't know if it's because it has a sheen to it. I feel like the way the light hits it really gives volume to the lips. Lolly it. So if I do have to touch up and make sure I bring it out with me, I'm okay with that because it does give a really pretty finish. And then in the center, I do have 2 favorites, which are MAC Honey Love, a little more peachy. And then this is Chanel Rouge Allure 206. And this is less, oh, it's kind of peachy, but it's a little more brown. Popped my cutesy little earrings in. The style name I don't remember, but these are from Victoria Green, and these are just, the shape is just so timeless. You are never going to get sick of it, like ever. And that is it. That is the tutorial for this makeup look and how to look flawless without being too cakey. I hope you enjoyed it. I missed you all so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.